What's up, everybody? This is Dave from Truckee Pacific Reviews, and with me, as always, is my kiddo, Mr. Dante. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
You don't have to put the microphone next to your mouth. I can hear you just fine.
I know.
And that almost 13-year-old voice is sounding very deep these days. Okay, that's weird. Let's not do that anymore. Dante has a couple things coming up next week. First and foremost, he's turning into a teenager. He's becoming a little man. Look at him. He's just a little man, 13 years old. So happy birthday to Dante.
Thank you.
Yes, so all 10 of the people that end up watching our show, please say happy birthday to Dante. He will be a big 13 years old. And also next week, Dante goes back into all remote learning. The COVID-19
it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. Well, the COVID-19 cases here in Arapahoe are just blowing up, as they are all over the country. So Dante's school has decided to go to remote learning. So tell me a little bit about what that's like, and how are you going to approach school now that you're going to be at home the whole time?
Okay, if I was to do this in a math perspective,
Please do.
every single regular week we have, so I'm just going to not count like Thursday and Monday on hybrid days, because you just do whatever you want, and like if you want to get work done, you can. But you have to actually do stuff when you're there on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you only have 16 hours of school every single week. 16 hours. But now, since we're going online, and it's going to be 9 to 2 is what we're calling it now. I might have done my math wrong. No, yeah, it's 14 week. Okay, it's 14 hours a week regularly, and now it's going to be 9 from 2, so it'll be 5, and then 5 days, so it'll be 25 hours a week, so it'll be 11 hours more, almost 11 hours more than usual.
Yeah, Dante goes to a pretty accelerated school, not to be all braggy or anything, but he does go to a pretty advanced school. So I'm not sure if the rest of his district is like that, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar. So I'm glad that you're going to school like more than you were, because I know you do your homework pretty fast. He's like done, 10 o'clock on Monday morning. He's like, I'm done for everything for the entire week. Like now I can just watch YouTube and play Pokemon.
I don't play Pokemon anymore.
No, your taste in games has definitely matured in the last few months. We started the quarantine with Pokemon, and we're finishing. Let's see, the second Spike.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah. Now you're into Wolfenstein, and now you're into that Among Us game. What is that Among Us game? I heard a lot about it. You love it. It's very popular. What exactly is Among Us?
Have you seen the movie The Thing?
The movie The Thing, yes. It's the Kurt Russell 1980s horror film, directed by John Carpenter. About
you just answered your own question.
It's basically The Thing.
Yeah, people who pretend to be other people, like shape-shifting beings, go onto the spaceship, and 9 people are regular people, and 1 person is a shape-shifting being, and everyone tries to fix the ship, but the shapeshifter has to try to kill everybody, and all the other people try to find out who the shapeshifter is and kill him. So exactly like The Thing.
Cool. That's like the game of the summer, because that game went from I'd never heard of it to Dante's playing it a bunch, my wife's playing it a bunch. It's on meme culture everywhere. I mean, there's
not even
videos
a game
now.
Of the summer, because it was. I'm pretty sure it was popularized in September, so it'd be a game of
September was technically summer, right?
True, but it's been September all the way now, so I would say the game of the fall.
You'd call it the game of the fall?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
which is weird that it's not Fall Guys.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm excited to play that Fall Guys. I hear that's also a pretty fun game, but
it died within 2 days.
Yeah, and it never came out on our Switch. We have the Switch. We have an Xbox One. I used to play a lot of video games, dude, when I was growing up. And now I just don't have time. I'm so busy doing other stuff for Truckee Pacific and for the writing that I do. And I just have zero time to play video games. But eventually I'll get back into it. I go in waves where I don't play any games and then I'll binge games for like a month and then I go back to not playing anymore. But you are in this lovely time of your life where you can play as many games as you like. And yeah, what's more fun, like, or what's been the most fun thing that you've played since we're gonna call it we went into quarantine at like the beginning part of April and is now November. So what is what are you doing with your hair?
Nothing.
We are so distracting. What has been the most fun game that you've played over that course, and what has been the best movie that you've seen over that course of time?
Okay. Well, I'm getting out my intense list of movies that I have stored on Google Notes. So I would say best game I've played. I haven't played that much games, honestly. I just played 300 hours of Pokemon. And, like, I just played Pokemon, Fall Guys, and I played, like, 1 hour of Wolfenstein. So not really that much.
Right on. And what about movies? Favorite movie so far?
Oh, wait, I need to say my favorite game. I would say either Among Us or Pokemon.
Nice.
Now, movies. I need to do some research into my list.
What's been the most fun show that we've binged?
Can I say a show that I've binged?
Yeah.
Over the Garden Wall. That was the best show.
Was it?
Over the Garden Wall.
Over the Garden Wall. That's the animated show that's on like HBO Max. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Nice. So I'd say the best movie that I've seen since we went into quarantine has been Tenet. That's still my favorite movie, even though Dante hates that movie. That was the first episode of Truckee Pacific Reviews, and Dante did not like Christopher Nolan's Tenet, but I really loved it, and I'm dying for it to come out so I can watch it again because there's still so many things I want to see in it. Like I said, don't really play any games, but the best show that we've seen, my wife discovered the show on Apple Plus called Ted Lasso, and I'll talk a little bit more about it on this episode or this Friday's episode of the Mile High Podcast. But Ted Lasso, great show. I love that show. So, all right, coming back to you. You've done your research. What is the favorite and or best movie that you have seen since we went into quarantine?
So my favorite movie of the entire decade.
The decade. The decade of 2020. The entire decade.
The 1 year, but it's still a decade. Is The Polka King on Netflix.
My favorite. King. Dante has been talking about this movie. Why don't you give a little Truckee Pacific review of The Polka King? What's it about?
So it's a biopic about about a polka guy.
Is he the Polka King?
Yeah.
Nice.
About a polka guy in a band that's struggling, and then he makes a pyramid scheme, and everything goes okay for him, and then the police get involved, and then they just think he's an innocent old guy, and then he does more of a pyramid scheme, and gets a really popular band, and then people leave, and then he almost murders his son, and then while he's at the hospital with his son, he gets arrested for pyramid scheme, and then he gets stabbed in the neck, and that's the end of the film.
Nice. It's a love movie.
It's not a spoiler film. It's not a spoiler because it already happened in the real life. That's like saying Hamilton died is a spoiler because it's based off of real events. So it's not a spoiler if I spoil all of these things.
It is not a spoiler. Polka King is based off of a true story. But Dante has been dying for me to watch it, so I will one day, and then we'll do an official reviews. So
we have to.
The polka folks are known for their accordions. So with that said, how many accordions does the Polka King get out of 4?
Oh, maybe like 70 out of 4.
70 accordions out of 4. So highly recommended the Polka King. All right, 4 out of 4. It's great.
It was really good. I looked up all the things, all the reviews, and all the reviews were like, not funny. It's like
that was your Mick Jagger impersonation, wasn't it?
impersonation of John Mulaney doing Mick Jagger. Not funny.
Not
What is it?
funny. Not funny.
It was kind of fun. The movie was kind of funny, but it was really good.
Nice.
It was
I
like
promise you, I will watch it.
we have to. You know what film we have to watch? We have to watch Social Network.
Social Network, yeah. And Dante and I just wrapped up our Universal Monsters reviews with the two-parter last week where we talked about Dracula and Invisible Man. Starting next week, we are going to start going into some classic holiday movies because we both love Christmas very much, and especially Christmas movies. So we're going to start going into some of those holiday classics like Miracle on 34th Street, the 1930s version of Christmas Story, or
Planes, Trains,
Christmas
Automobiles.
Carol. Planes, Trains, Automobiles. Yeah, that's a great one. That'll be a great one for Thanksgiving, because that is like mostly a Thanksgiving story. So, and there's not a lot of Thanksgiving movies out there, but that is by far the best one. Some other holiday movies. Mystery Science Theater 3000 did a great Santa. What was the Santa one?
The Christmas that almost wasn't.
The Christmas that almost wasn't. They did a great parody of Christmas that almost wasn't. So maybe we'll do.
They didn't do a parody. They just did a riff track.
They did a riff track. Fair
which
enough.
is also a thing they own.
Nice. So yeah. So keep watching out for us on truckeepacific.com, as well as going to our Facebook page, Truckee Pacific, and then Mount High Podcast, of course. But tonight's kind of like that bridge movie. Like we were talking, hey.
Wait.
What? Go ahead.
So it's either Polka King or the movie we're going to talk about next is my favorite films of the entire year.
All right. Nice segue. So like I said, we were kind of wondering what kind of movie that we were going to review this week. We'd seen quite a few movies. We saw The New Witches, based off the Roald Dahl book and directed by Robert Zemeckis, that just came out on, that's HBO Max too as well, right?
Yes, sir.
That movie was really good. I'm a huge fan of the original Witches, but this one is also quite good. I enjoyed it. We also watched a very underrated new horror comedy on Netflix called The Vampires versus the Bronx, which was a really good movie. It's an homage to vampire stories, and so I particularly liked it. What did you think of Vampires versus the Bronx?
I thought it was very good. On my Google Notes, I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Nice. And then we recently watched Army of Darkness. I love Army of Darkness. That's one of the movies that established the horror comedy genre. What do you think of Army of Darkness?
I give it a 7 out of 10.
So that's still a pretty good movie, still pretty good rating. But tonight, this is a bridge movie. It's not really a Halloween movie, definitely not a holiday movie.
It's my favorite Christmas film.
It's the best Christmas movie ever made. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
Bah, bah.
Bah, bah. So we decided on a whim, just decided to watch Signs. And I saw this. This movie is 18 years old now, which is freaking crazy. 18 years old.
Older than me.
Yeah, by like 5 years. And this was like peak M. Night Shyamalan. He had just come off the success of Sixth Sense, right as the same time as Unbreakable. I think this is his second movie. Dante, will you look that up on IMDb real quick, if this was his second movie? I'm pretty sure it was. He was very successful coming off of The Sixth Sense. He did this movie, and then he did Unbreakable with Bruce Willis. And then the dude just kind of like started making weirder and weirder movies. He's known for having the gotcha ending at the end of the movies.
Gotcha.
Again?
Gotcha.
Gotcha what?
I was going along with you.
Oh. You ruined the groove, man.
Sorry.
That's all right.
You stole the Emperor's Groove.
You've stolen the Emperor's Groove. Where was it? So M. Night Shyamalan, great, came out of the track very strong with some 3 very great movies, and then just like faded away. He had a little bit of a career resurgence with what the hell is that movie? It's not Glass.
The Village.
I'm sorry?
The Village.
No, not The Village.
Unbreakable.
No.
Split.
Thank you. You can see I haven't done my homework very well. Split
I have.
was definitely M. Night Shyamalan's movie in the last 15 years. The rest of his movies have not been great. Even his television shows have not been that great. But Signs is probably my favorite one of his movies, and it's if you're a religious person, you really like this movie. But also if you're a sci-fi fan, you'll really like this movie. It's suspenseful, it's fun, the dialogue's pretty witty. Mel Gibson, before he went all crazy racist, was great. Joaquin Phoenix is great. Abigail Breslin, that was like one of her first roles, and has a long established career, and was terrific in it. One of the Culkin brothers, he was in it. I know there's like 10 of them, so I kind of lost track. But yeah, Signs is probably my favorite M. Night Shyamalan, and I really enjoyed Sixth Sense. What do you think of it? Go ahead. You,
I
Dante.
have done my homework.
You've done your homework.
Sixth Sense wasn't even his first film.
Which was it?
It was Praying with Anger.
Oh, no one's ever.
Then it was Wide Awake. Then it was The Sixth Sense. Then it was Unbreakable. Then it was Signs. So
Okay.
Signs is M. Night Shyamalan's 5th directorial film.
Yes, but nobody has ever heard of or seen the first two. So we're gonna consider The Sixth Sense as his first, like, his big debut.
Yeah, okay. So what do I think of it?
Yeah, what do you think of Signs?
I thought it was very good. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Why?
Because it's just so good. I love everyone's acting, especially Joaquin Phoenix's acting. I don't know. He just seems like a fun uncle.
He does. He's pretty serious now. He's plays fun Uncle Merrill and then crazy Joker.
Joker man.
Yeah.
He
Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor.
Yeah.
I know you want to see Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic, and he's fantastic in that. I mean, he's great in pretty much everything I've seen him in. Even going down to Space Camp when his name was Leaf Phoenix. Yes,
So
my pop culture knowledge usually is given a It's about the extent of what I get.
Yeah. He went from a cool uncle scared of aliens to a mass murderer who started riots.
Ooh. So I guess we never gave the synopsis of this movie. We should probably do that, huh? Because it is an 18-year-old movie. I don't know how many people these days have actually seen Signs, especially if they're under like 20 years old. I doubt they've seen this movie. So
I can help.
All right, Dante, give us a Signs synopsis, please.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the fast one first and then the more detailed one later.
How about I just give us the detailed one, because we don't need two synopses. We just give me the good stuff.
Okay, so this guy's wife gets killed and he gets pissed off, and then
This guy is Mel Gibson, by the way.
okay, well,
I'll jump.
okay,
I'll jump in
okay.
and I'll help you with your
Okay.
synopsis.
Mel Gibson, his wife gets killed by a veterinarian who's played by M. Night Shyamalan, and he gets pissed off and just quits being a minister and loses his faith in God. And then they find him and his brother Joaquin Phoenix, or Uncle Merrill, moves in with him, and then they find this big circle in their crops, and they're very confused on what it is. And then there's water, something to do with water, and then the dog just dies out of nowhere. He gets hostile and just dies. No one knows why he dies.
Yes, you see, yes. So all the animals, they literally talk about that scene. Like Mel Gibson and the sheriff are like, all the animals are going crazy because there's something attacking them. And then the dog tries to jump and attack little Abigail Breslin, which is a real dick move by that dog. And then the Macaulay Culkin's brother stabs him in the throat.
Wait, he stabbed him in the throat? I thought the dog just got stabbed by one of the aliens.
No, the little kid stabbed him because he leapt at the kid, at the Abigail Breslin.
Kid? What a savage kid!
Well, hey man, if there was a big old dog jumping at my little sister, I'd stab it in the throat with a poker.
Would you stab Oscar if you went crazy and tried to attack me?
Yes, of course.
That's what I
thought. Of course I would. But my Oscar dog, he's a sweet old boy, so he'll never do that to you. But keep going with your synopsis, because we're up to the point. There's been crop circles. All the animals are starting to go crazy. Abigail Breslin has this really weird fixation with water. She leaves water all over. And this is the point where I told Dante, I'm like, this movie is literally called Signs. And so I'm gonna start pointing out all these different signs because M. Night Shyamalan, he likes to put everything together at the end. So I pointed these out to him, but I'm not sure if a lot of people would have picked this up on their first viewing of this movie. So continue, sir, with your synopsis, please. In it.
So, they find this being on top of their house, and they're like really confused. And then they go to the city, and this guy's like, "Oh yeah, well they're doing a military thing where they check out the area and then they kill you." And then they all go home, and then he gets a call from the veterinarian that accidentally killed his wife, and he said it was a sign that he fell asleep at the wheel with his the signs with his wife right in front of him, and he slept at the exact same moment that his wife was right there. So it was like a sign that he just killed her. And then he said he felt really bad, and he said that he trapped an alien in his pantry. So he goes to the alien and just chops off his fingers and dips. And then they're really spooked. And then Joaquin Phoenix is like, "Oh, hi," and he watches news. And then there's a whole scene where it was a alien's just like in Brazil, and then he gets like scared. And then Macaulay Culkin's brother finds a book about aliens, and then starts to get really paranoid. And then they go into their house, and then the aliens attack, and then they go into the back, and then the son has an asthma attack and almost dies. And then they save him, and they kill the alien with water, and they use a baseball bat and kill him because that was his wife's last word.
Yeah, right. There you go. The Signs by Dante Hawkins. Well done, sir.
You're welcome.
So, movie was. I really enjoyed this movie. I like the fact that M. Night Shyamalan, like I said, he likes to do those surprise endings. He likes to wrap everything up and have kind of like a surprise ending. And so, like all these like little like breadcrumbs that he plopped in along the way, like the fact that M. Night Shyamalan's character, Roy Reddy, I think his name was, has never fallen asleep at the wheel ever, and has never since then. But that particular time, he ran into Mel Gibson's wife, and she ended up dying. And then there's just these little signs all peppered throughout, and then at the end, everything comes together, and it's these signs that help these guys defeat this alien invasion. So, really good, suspenseful movie. There's some pretty good jump scares in there.
There's no jump scares.
What are you talking about? Like when in the the basement when when Rory Culkin was up against the coal chamber, and like
I
see the hand moving and shit.
I guess that's kind of a jump scare.
You didn't think that when the alien popped out when they were on when they were showing the Brazilian birthday party, and the alien like pops out from the side there at the end of their like little driveway. You didn't think that was pretty spooky?
I thought it was pretty spooky, but I thought the Brazilian scene was scarier.
That's what I was talking about. I was literally just talking about it.
Okay.
You said you read somewhere that it's pretty high up there on the jump scare, like scariest moments in movies. Like, where was that?
I don't know. I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked at many lists, but IMDb claims that it says somewhere it says that it's one of the scariest scenes of all time, which I totally don't agree with. But okay.
No, it's a pretty spooky scene though. When you first seen it, like when he like comes out, it's pretty cool.
I remember seeing that as a child and thought that was like Alien, the film Alien. I thought that was the film Alien when I saw the guy. I thought that was Alien. It wasn't.
No. I will show you Alien though. I think you'll enjoy that one. It's a little
Is it
grown
scary?
up for you. It's pretty. Yeah, it's a genre of horror. It's sci-fi horror, and it's definitely right up there. Like, it's one that might spook you out a little bit. It's pretty action filled though.
Isn't it one of the scariest things is when like the guy, he's like,
Yes, that's literally what happened. That was an excellent recreation of Alien.
doesn't seem that scary. Bring it on.
You say that a lot about a lot of movies that are definitely scary, and then I go like, "Hey, D, you don't think Exorcist is scary? Like, why is Exorcist scary? It doesn't seem scary. Like, let's watch it." And you're like, "Nah, I'm good."
The only thing scary about Hereditary is the girl getting her head off, but that's not even scary. That's just
You haven't
that's
seen
like
the
a jump
movie.
scare.
You have
Fine,
not
fine,
seen
fine.
the movie.
Okay, I agree. Okay, now
Let's watch the movie and you can judge how scary it is. I love scary
Can I
movies.
get into my facts now, sir?
Okay. So, as is always, Dante, I'm going to stall while he gets his headphones back in. All right. Tell us a little bit of trivia about Signs.
So first off, his first two M. Night Shyamalan's first two films are religious because M. Night Shyamalan, as you might not know, is super religious. Like he's more religious than most people that I know. Because
Not more
his
than
first
Mel
two,
Gibson. Mel Gibson
true.
is part of this group called Opus Dei, which is like very religious to the
That's
point
not
where
good.
they like flog their backs to honor their religion. They like, flog their backs. They're super conservative. So
Ugh. Okay. So his second film that he made called Wide Awake is about a 10-year-old boy who goes on a search for God after his grandfather dies.
as 10-year-olds tend to do, I suppose.
Yeah. Also, M. Night Shyamalan came out and said that the real sign, there's two different signs of films, signs of this film. The first sign is like the water and the crops and how he's never fallen asleep at the wheel. And he said the second one is the signs from God.
The Signs from God. Yeah, if you've seen this movie, then you'll know it's like it's pretty religious over undertones there.
Yeah. Did you know it grossed $227 million?
I was not aware of that. That's a lot of bucks.
Actually, no. That was just in America. And worldwide, it made $408.
That's a lot of bucks. $500 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man.
It's only behind 6 cents in profit. So the artwork in the book, like the one where like all the people are dead right in front of the thing.
Yes.
Or
And
the
these
other
aren't
book, I don't
spoilers.
know.
If whoever's watching this movie, it's 20 years old or 18 years old. So I'm not going to give you any spoiler warning. There's going to be spoilers throughout because it's 18 years old. If you haven't seen it by now, then too fucking bad.
Also, this is in the non-spoiler section of IMDb, so nothing really happens. So his daughter actually wrote all the page, drew the pages.
Nice.
Aww. And the stories of all the children's birth, like how the child smiled and how they thought the child was beautiful and didn't cry. Those were actually M. Night Shyamalan's kids. That's how they were born.
That's cool.
So, Joaquin Phoenix, another superhero, was supposed to actually play his character, Mark Ruffalo,
Ooh.
but he had a brain tumor. But it was benign. It was a benign brain tumor. But he still couldn't play, so Joaquin Phoenix actually just played. And they also offered it to Johnny Depp. Like, it feels bad for being Joaquin Phoenix because he's just like the last choice. So, like, fine, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, but he did such a great job in that role. I can't imagine anybody else being it. Mark Ruffalo probably would have done pretty good, but Johnny Depp would have been terrible.
The scene in the pantry, the one where like they're like,
I do know that scene. We just watched the movie.
So that took 3 weeks to film.
Jeez, why?
I don't know. It just doesn't say. IMDb isn't there specific. Also, the aliens were supposed to be invisible, but M. Night Shyamalan didn't have enough money to do that, so he just made them camouflage.
How much? You don't see the aliens a whole lot. You see alien fingers. You see
1
some
minute.
shadows.
1 minute and 11 seconds.
1 minute and 11 seconds. It's almost a 2-hour movie, and you see it for like about a minute. And I'm sure that was because of budget constraints. Computer-generated graphics are still pretty new and expensive at that time. But you don't really see the alien. I like it. It's kind of going back to our Blair Witch show. I think not seeing the actual protagonist or the antagonist that leads to a more suspenseful movie. I think
it would have been scarier in theaters. I would think
it was. We saw it. Your mom and I saw it in theaters.
Was it scary?
Yeah.
So this just shows you. This is another thing that shows that M. Night Shyamalan. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so don't harp on me in the comments. But that he's super religious. So I'm going to read this in a preppy tone. M. Night Shyamalan thinks that the scariest thing in the film is that a man could lose his connection with God.
Excellent description.
That's literally what it says.
That's funny. All right. Any other trivia for Signs?
I do have some trivia.
All right.
The trivia is trivia on real life, and that trivia is about Kathy Najimy. So
Ooh,
the tweet I
look
have.
at that. It was a seamless transition to our Kathy Najimy tweets.
So she said, "Confession: I'm a tits optimist," and that's someone who thinks they have more time than they do, so they're late to everything.
I hate being late to stuff.
Well, Kathy Najimy obviously doesn't, or she does. I don't know.
What else? Any other Kathy Najimy tweets before we wrap up?
If you do happen to have $10 to spare, let's do this thing to the end. That's what she. That's like literally.
I don't know
what
my
said.
$10 is going to do. The election's over. All they're doing is counting votes. So,
Ooh,
this is the first election. Let's. Do you have any more Kathy Najimy tweets before we wrap up?
I don't. You may go on, sir.
All right. So I want to hear your. First of all, let's give our Signs official review of Signs, and then we're going to review the 2020 election. So
very entertaining.
Very. What are we going to?
3 American flags.
American flags? How about baseball bats?
No, I said 3 American flags for the presidential.
Oh, okay. Debate. What should we use as our indicator for Signs? Should be baseball bats. Should be glasses of water. How many glasses of water?
Alien emoji.
Alien emojis. How many alien emojis does Signs get in your book? 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 4 aliens. Nice. I'm going to go 3 out of 4. That's still a really great movie. Really enjoyed it. I enjoy Invisible Man more. If we're talking about kind of like sci-fi, kind of spooky movies, I enjoyed Invisible Man more than I.
We've been watching a lot of monster films.
We are, but now we're transitioning to the holiday movies. I mean, I think that we're going to do Christmas Chronicles, I think, next week, and then we're going to jump right into the holiday classics. So
we've seen monster, actually like scary monsters like Dracula, Invisible Man, and then like alien monsters like Signs, and then human monsters like Dark Knight.
Ooh, oh, we got to finish Dark Knight, and then we'll review that.
Yeah, and cats.
Right. And cats. I get 0 cat buttholes. That's my rating, is 0 cat buttholes. All right,
that's
so
a
this
joke
is the
because
first time
there's a butthole cut. Go on.
Sorry,
I interrupted you.
You're fine, buddy. This is the first time where you've actually been invested in a presidential election. Last time, like 4 years ago, you're still pretty young. You're 8 something, so weren't really paying attention to American politics. Neither should you, and you really shouldn't be involved right now. You're only 13. But what is your perception of the voting process and the election process? What do you think?
Electoral college is the stupidest thing. It's probably more stupid than cats being made.
That's a bold statement. But I agree with you. The electoral system needs to go. I think popular vote.
They're just like, so you know what? So all these people who are going to vote, there's going to be a chance that their vote doesn't even matter. And they're going to be bribed into voting someone who they get bribed by. So literally they can vote for whoever they want no matter what votes they can. I know there's some laws, but like most states don't even have laws towards it. So they could just be like, oh, Trump or Biden wants me to be their president and they'll give me $100,000. Sure.
It doesn't
I'll
work
vote
like
for them.
Yeah, that doesn't work like that.
It could,
we'll have a little bit more faith in our system. Like that, having the electoral college delegate like kind of go rogue off of the popular vote. That's pretty rare, and nobody's getting bribed for it. So, but just like kind of go through the whole counting process. What do you think? Are you finding it interesting? Are you finding it like
boring?
Yeah. Does it make you want to be more involved in public service kind of things, or less involved in politics?
More involved, but like, geez, Nevada, pick up your pace.
I don't know, man. Dude, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, bro. They laid that out for like the last 20 years. That's been their motto. So they're trying living up to their motto.
They're trying
so
hard to be the main character.
Yeah. Well, it
What?
shows that how important your vote is. Even if you don't agree with the electoral college, every vote counts, man. I mean, I think Biden's up by maybe 10,000 votes, if that.
Dude,
Um,
I checked the vote results. Trump has 69 million votes. Nice.
well, and it's crazy. Like we have seen the most percentage-wise, the most votes, percentage voting of our population in the last 100 years. So folks really know how important the vote is, and kind of they want to choose which direction. And it's so evenly divided that whoever is president really needs to realize that this country is like crazy divided right now, and they need to work double time to try to get this place kind of mended up because we're only strong when we're together instead of split apart. So hopefully this election ends pretty soon, and hopefully there's a renewed sense of patriotism and faith in the democracy that is America. Um, yeah, it's been a very interesting year. I expected nothing less of this election just because of how crazy this whole year has been. I just expected the election to go crazy, and it has. So I'm giving this election 3 American flags as well. I would have given it 4 if Nevada would just pick up their pace. Like, come on, dude, Dante.
I give the first presidential debate 4 American flags because of how entertaining it was.
It
It was probably
was
more It was more entertaining than most of the new Simpsons episodes.
all right. That's a very interesting comparison. Um, I'm just, man, I am so glad that this BS is over though. Like, I know they have to count some votes, but the elections are over. No more ads on YouTube and on Facebook, and finally we're gonna get a little bit of peace and quiet for a minute. I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of it until inauguration comes around, and then who knows? We'll see what happens in 2021. I can't believe how fast this year has gone, and we're already in. We're almost a third of the way done with freaking November. I mean, we have Thanksgiving in 2 weeks, bro. 3 weeks from today is Thanksgiving. So,
Wow,
yeah, I know.
crazy.
And COVID, we're not going to be able to spend it with our family, which is a big bummer, of course. So we're we're gonna have to do a Zoomsgiving. It's weird year, man. Weird year. So I'm glad to see it wrapping up. Hopefully next year will be better. But one of the best things of I don't know. It's like you're measuring your forehead while I'm talking. I can't. I think one of the best things, man, about this year is all the cool stuff that we've been able to do here at Truckee Pacific. Um, One of the, of course, the Mount High podcast is still going on strong. Last week, our Halloween episode that was simulcast on the I'm from Denver Facebook page is well over 1,000 views at this point. We have a killer show coming up on Friday, which is tomorrow.
What's that
for
show
us.
going to be about?
That show it's called, well, we've been doing a series on the 90s, pop culture in the 90s. So we talked about like movies. We've talked about rap in the 90s because rap was really prolific then, but also rock and roll. There's so many different types of rock music that came out of the 90s, and great rock music and shitty rock music. So we're going to wrap up our 90s series with the 90s rocked, because they really did some really great stuff. Centauri Project is amazing. Centauri and Mary Beth are going over the country. They just were up in what was it? San Francisco. They saw the Golden Gate Bridge. Now they're in New Mexico. They're about to hit Area 51 here soon. I mean, they're about to hit Roswell too. Yeah, so yeah, it all
came mixed
around.
Together.
Oh, wow, look at you, man. You are a professional in this business. You brought it all the way home. So
Segway City.
Segway City. So that's pretty much all I have for this week. Next week, we're going to be doing Christmas Chronicles, a Christmas movie I particularly enjoyed, and I would definitely love to hear Dante's take on it next week.
I love it.
Well, don't ruin it. Like, no, nobody has to watch it because they don't know what. All right, that's all I have. What are your closing thoughts?
Buy HBO Max.
Buy HBO Max. Okay, fair enough.
Kidding.
Okay.
Or not.
All right. Any other words of wisdom, sir, besides maybe or maybe not buy HBO Max?
Definitely watch Signs.
All right. Definitely watch Signs. And why don't you do some homework, guys? Why don't you guys watch Christmas Chronicles so you can follow along when we have our next show next week? Please join in for the Mile High podcast and check out our show, The 90s Rocked. And that's about it. All right. Have a good night. Thank you guys so much. Be good to each other.
This has been a Truckee Pacific production. For sponsorship inquiries and comments, go to the Mile High Podcast at gmail.com.